Inland Sports.
And now join us here on the Inland Sports Show. He's the head coach of the Carter Lions football team and a frequent visitor here on the program, Felipe Salas. And Coach, I want to talk about this year's team, obviously, because we're right around the corner from 2025. But going back to last year's team in 2024, what a special group. What a great year for the Lions to get to a championship game. I don't know, how often do you talk about last year's team to this year's team, or is it a clean slate? I mean, how do you approach that when you have a great year like that last season?
I think kind of reflected back on last year's team, it was a special, very special group, and we kind of realized that, 2 years ago when we saw the chemistry of them kind of coming together as a lower level group. But in comparison to the new group, we kind of try to hone in on, the things we did in the past and, what was so special about that group. But we also understand that this new group is a totally new group and, they kind of have to make a name for themselves, and it's going to take some hard work and consistency and, weightlifting and practice and, getting into their playbooks and stuff. But we were fortunate enough to, go to the championship game last year, but fell a little short, but we know this year we got a lot of work to do. And, we got a lot of guys trying to fill those spots of, our former guys last year. So just a clean slate, ready to get back to work. And right now we're on dead period. So we're kind of taking a little break. And, when we get back, it's going to be full steam ahead.
Yeah, like right into the season after that dead period. Coach, since you brought it up, I mean, that Palmdale championship game in Division 12, do you think about it often? Do you just try to hey, it was a great game. It was an instant classic. I wish it would have, gone a different way, but do you just try to forget about it, or you think about it often?
We think about it a lot. I think about it a lot. Some of the stuff that we could have done a little better as coaches, as players, any way we could have prepared a little bit better that week, but it was a great atmosphere to be a part of. And, we felt like we were in a position to win that game. We obviously fell a little bit short, but, it took me probably about 2 or 3 months to really process, that loss. And, it's as much as it was hard to lose, I think we turned everything into a learning experience. So, going into the future, I kind of know some things that, we need to do to fix as a staff and, as players and stuff. So it's a learning moment for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I talk to a lot of coaches, not even just football, but other sports, and I'll ask them about certain games, and they'll say, yeah, I remember the games that we probably should have won. They remember those more than the games that they actually did win, because they think about, this play or that play would have changed the game or swung it the other way. So I feel you on that, thinking about that game for a couple of months. But, Coach, that was a special group. You had some really talented seniors. So how does the team look this year? You got some guys coming back?
So we return one starter, which is our center, Jose Barbosa. But a lot of the guys this year got a lot of reps last year. They were kind of, spell players or, tweeners. Some guys played JV and stuff. So they do have some experience. We will be a little younger this year, but the guys are hungry. They got a lot of energy. They're, moving in the right direction. And I think they know the expectation of, last year's group and what we were able to do, and they seen the preparation that we put in. So they've been doing a pretty good job of, staying on top of it and staying consistent. But, every day is just a new day, and we just got to, continue to work. And they understand that every day they come in, we're expected to, work hard. And as a result, we're expected to win as well.
Yeah. To piggyback off what you just said, those expectations, does it feel a little bit different this year, coming off such a great run last year? Like, hey, guys, we're not going to settle for, just barely making the playoffs and losing in the first round. Like, it feels a little bit different that, you guys came so close last year. And I know you said you had a young group, but I'm sure the expectation remains the same. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, it is. We do have a young group, but, once you've made it to the championship, or you've won the championship, or whatever the case may be, then now the players kind of know, okay, well, we found the secret to success, right? We found the secret sauce. And, it's really simple. It's just hard work. It's showing up every day. It's trusting your teammates and your coaches, and, getting into your playbook and making sure you're taking care of your body and stuff. So, we feel like we found the secret, but once again, we can't take that for granted. We still got to put in the work and, show up on time and do the basic essentials of what's needed for football.
So, Coach, based on the guys that you have on your roster, where do you feel like this team might be strong this upcoming year?
I think it's kind of two ways. So I think our offensive line has a lot more of our experience because we did rotate probably about 3 to 4 guys on the offensive line last year. So although they're not starters coming back, they got plenty of experience for the guys last year. And then it's kind of actually surprising us. Our defense is kind of stepping up across the board in 7-on-7. They're starting to understand their responsibilities, and they're doing a good job of communicating on defense and identifying some different things. So I would say the offensive line, the trenches for sure, and defense, especially our secondary, is starting to come together.
So, Coach, coming out of dead period, you probably only have a couple weeks before helmets and pads come out, in fall training camp starts, right, to get ready for that first game of the year. So when you come out of dead period, what does that next couple of weeks look like? Do you guys still do 7-on-7? Do you have any tournaments, or is it more like a traditional looking practice?
We did get invited to a 7-on-7 or 2 the last, week or two before we get into helmets. But I feel like for us, 7-on-7 is pretty much wrapped up. It just tightening up the bolts, understanding our playbook, continuing to get stronger, continuing to take care of our bodies, and really just kind of honing in on, the simple things of football, just knowing alignment, assignment, your blocking schemes, your reads and stuff like that. But yeah, I think 7-on-7 is it for us. We're still going to be competitive at practice. We do 7-on-7 and, simulate inside run and all that stuff. So we're pretty much wrapped up and getting ready for the season.
Does it feel like that week 0 game against Kaiser is right around the corner? I mean, I don't know if as a coach, if you're like, oh, it's weeks away, we got time, or, oh my gosh, August 22nd is right around the corner. I hope we're ready. Like, we still got so much we got to work on.
I feel like it is right around the corner, and I feel like we don't have enough time to get there. And especially this off season, like I remember us, starting weightlifting in January, and I'm like, we have plenty of time to work out and get stronger. But now I'm like, we're racing against the clock, and I still don't feel like we're ready. I mean, we might be, but as a coach, we're never going to feel like we're prepared enough. But we're going to continue to work and continue to show up and try to squeeze whatever we can in these next 3 or 4 weeks, and try to get as good as we possibly can with a younger group.
So, Coach, you open with Kaiser in week 0. In your non-league, I know you've got Eisenhower as well. Rialto is going to be a league game, right? So I know in certain cities in the Inland Empire, Temecula, Moreno Valley, some of these places, they put pride on having like a city championship, like who's the best team in the city. Is that something that you guys pay attention to, or something that matters in the city of Rialto?
So that used to be a really big thing in the city of Rialto. They would have a city championship every year, and this is when I know back then it was Carter and Eisenhower was in the CBL a little bit, and then Rialto was I think they were in the CBL too, but we kind of got away from it the past few years. And then I know when the conference changes for us, sometimes we play Ike, sometimes we play Rialto, but it's never been a true championship, a city championship these last few years. So that's something we're trying to get back to. But for us, it's something I want to bring back, and I think it's good for the city. I think it's good for the alumni. It's good for the fans to kind of create those old rivalries. And, we are fortunate enough to play those teams this year. So we're definitely looking forward to playing Ike and Rialto.
And finally, Coach, I'm not looking at the Skyline League right now, but I'm assuming is it the same teams? Like nothing changed for your league this year?
With the exception of Colton going to the San Andreas.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Rialto. No, sorry. One team dropped. I can't think of it right now. But for the most part, it's the same as Fontana. It's Bloomington. It's Arroyo Valley, us, and
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I would assume, when you kind of chunk out the season between non-league, league play, CIF, like that's one of the goals that you guys, I would assume, is getting that league championship, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. And that was our goal last year. I felt like we were pretty close, but, Colton kind of, took that. And But we have a goal board every year. You know, we want to win a league championship. We want to, you know, get to the playoffs, hopefully win CIF, and then, you know, obviously build in a little bit of individual awards for the players. I know they're really big about their touchdowns and their interceptions and stuff like that. So we still do the reward decals on the helmets and stuff. So that's pretty cool. I think that's a neat thing to do.
What is that for the helmet? Is it a lion, or what is it that goes on the
So
helmet?
we give a little paw.
Okay.
So we got a little bit of a helmet change this year. Last year we were kind of flat blue with the with the C. This year we're going Michigan helmets.
Oh.
So we're going to do it just like Michigan with the decal stickers on the back, but the exception is going to be now we're going to do a little paw instead. So that's going to be pretty cool to see, I think.
That's awesome. I love how some of those big time college programs do that. Now you have something to do to kind of, incentivize your players to go out there and do some big things and get rewarded for touchdowns, picks, all that kind of good stuff.
For sure.
Well, Coach Salas, man, really appreciate it. I'm glad to hear about the helmets. I'm a big Michigan fan, so that's pretty cool to hear as well. And best of luck this upcoming season. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you for having me on. It's always a good one. Thank you.
You got it. That's Felipe Salas, the head coach of the Carter Lions, here on the Inland Sports Show.
Inland Sports.